What up, and welcome to another Basketball Pantheon video. We are on the last of the divisions. The historic roster is complete. There's a couple little tweaks I need to make to some existing teams, but we're going to go through the last division. It's the Northwest Division. So far, if you haven't seen, we've had put out 5 videos of our classic rosters. Each video is a different division in the NBA. 6 teams, obviously, in each. We're going to go ahead and jump into the Northwest, and then our last video that we'll put out is kind of like an overview of what we think, and then I'll show you guys kind of what the tournament that we're going to do. It's a group and then knockout play, essentially, is what the plan is. And I've done the group stage kind of draw, treating this almost like a soccer tournament. We've done the draw, so we know what the groups are, so we'll put that out in the next video, and then we're going to start playing the games. And I'll Twitch most of the games, and hope people can watch and enjoy. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the Jazz. This is the first team up in the Northwest Division. And again, for anybody who hasn't watched these videos yet, we're just kind of going to go through, and I'm going to say the peak year that I chose to represent this player. So the ratings kind of hopefully reflect that. They're not going to be absolutely perfect, but I did the best that I could with the research that I could, using Basketball Reference, and then also sometimes the player's version of that player was already on the game, so that was easy. So we're going to start with Karl Malone, 1997 version of Karl Malone, the first of his 2 MVP awards. Controversially. This is 96 overall, so yeah, obviously all-time great. There's Karl Malone. John Stockton. This is the 1990 version of John Stockton. Adrian Dantley. This is a creative player, 1984 version of Adrian Dantley. An absolutely phenomenal scorer in the 80s. Racked up tons and tons of points. And could have been on a number of teams, but decided to put him on the Jazz. Deron Williams. This version of him kind of looks a little bit differently than he looked when he played for the Jazz. But this is the 2008 version of Deron Williams. We gave him an 88 overall. Gordon Hayward. This is the current version of Gordon Hayward. And yeah, 87 overall. Carlos Boozer. He's a creative player. Thought we did all right with this one. I'll show you guys kind of what he looks like. This is also the 2008 version of Carlos Boozer. So Boozer and Williams. The faces never look like perfect because it's just incredibly difficult to make it look exactly like them. But usually when you kind of scan out and when you're playing the game, it's what almost from behind is what really matters, and the gear and all that stuff. That's what really makes it look like a player. And then the signature shot, we try to nail those too. So there's Carlos Boozer. Again, the 2008 version. So Rudy Gobert, current version, pretty easy. Andrei Kirilenko, unfortunately, had to create him. And very, very difficult player to create because he was on the game last year with CSKA Moscow. But yeah, not on the game this year. So again, kind of from the profile and from the side, not bad, but obviously the face doesn't look great. And the hair, kind of hard to figure out exactly what to do for the hair, but there he is, Andrei Kirilenko. This is the 2004 version, his All-Star season. Jeff Malone, no relation to Karl, but did play with him. And this is probably going to end up... we may start Jeff Malone. Haven't totally decided yet, but this is the 1992 version of Jeff Malone. Mark Eaton, another creative player. And for whatever reason, they simply would not let me pick number 53 for Mark Eaton. I am aware that that's the number he wore, but this is the 1985 version of Mark Eaton. Darrell Griffith, Dr. Duncanstein, University of Louisville star, and had a few good seasons with the Utah Jazz. The 1989 version of Darrell Griffith. Mehmet Okur, another creative player. This is a 2007 version of Mehmet Okur. Kind of show you what it looks like from afar. Not bad. I also put him on the 04 Pistons because they were missing him. So I have another roster where I kind of finished out some of the existing classic rosters like the 04 Pistons, and I finished out their roster with the, how they have those random players at the back end because they don't have the rights to everyone. I went ahead and put him on the team. So kind of worked in 2 ways. James Posey was like that as well. All right, Jeff Hornacek. This is the 1996 version of Jeff Hornacek, 81 overall. Derek Favors. This is current version of Derek Favors, the 3rd current player. Greg Ostertag. I just threw him at the back of the roster just for the heck of it. 1998 version of Greg Ostertag. Yeah, he's not good, but I thought it was funny. Have a little story about him when my brother and one of my best friends and I went to a game in San Antonio and saw the Jazz play, and I'll have to tell it sometime on a podcast or video maybe. It was hilarious. But all right, here's the rotation. John Stockton at point guard, Jeff Malone shooting guard, Adrian Dantley, Karl Malone, and Rudy Gobert rounds out your starting lineup. You could start Mark Eaton, but Gobert is a little bit better as of now. Off the bench, Deron Williams, Gordon Hayward, Andrei Kirilenko, Darrell Griffith, Mark Eaton, Carlos Boozer, Derek Favors, Mehmet Okur, Jeff Hornacek, and Greg Ostertag in reserve. I could see some games where you maybe swap Okur and Hornacek because you have a lot of bigs, here, so you don't necessarily need Okur there, but or even Favors. You could switch Favors and Hornacek at some point. But anyway, there's the Utah Jazz. So let's go ahead and get to the next team. That would be the Denver Nuggets. Um, Fun team in the end. We nice little balance of scoring and some defense, and I don't know, it'll be an interesting team. But let's start with Alex English. Probably the Nuggets' all-time best player. 1983 version of Alex English, another scoring machine in the 80s and underrated player historically. Given 91 overall. So Carmelo Anthony. I had a debate on whether to put him on the Knicks or the Nuggets. He's played almost the same amount for each franchise now, but I thought his better seasons were with the Nuggets. So this is the 2010 version of Carmelo Anthony. David Thompson. 1978 version of David Thompson. This is pre, obviously, the off-the-court problems. Given 89 overall. Dikembe Mutombo. Could have put him on the Hawks, but thought he had some better seasons with the Nuggets. Plus, the Hawks were kind of loaded at the front court positions anyway, so put him on the Nuggets 1994 version. So that was easy. He was already on the game. Just traded him over. Kiki Vandeweghe. Here's a created player. He wore number 55 as well, so I gave that to Mutombo. And I made Vandeweghe number 5. So that's, if anybody's confused with that, that's why. The 1983 version of Kiki Vandeweghe. Antonio McDyess, creative player. Thought this one looked pretty good. Actually, looks like Antonio McDyess. Let's go ahead and look at him in more of a kind of zoomed out perspective. So yeah, thought we did a pretty nice job on that one. And this is the where are we at, Antonio McDyess? No, 2001 version of Antonio McDyess. Dan Issel. 1972 version of Dan Issel, one of the original kind of stretch 5s. Fat Lever, Lafayette, or Fat Lever. This is the 1988 version of Fat Lever, kind of on those fun Nuggets teams of the 80s that was all offense, no defense. Andre Miller, one of the most underrated point guards in NBA history. 2004 version of Andre Miller. Nene, moved him back over. Obviously, he was already on the game. It's the 2011 version of Nene. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, he was on the game already as well. 1994 version of Abdul Rauf. Just traded him over from the 94 Nuggets. Ty Lawson had a really underrated season in 2013. That's the season we chose. Gave him an 80 overall. Moved him over. And there's Ty Lawson. Danilo Gallinari. Could have gone with the kind of current version. I think we ended up doing that. Yeah, 2017 version of Gallinari. The 2013 year was really good too. So, I mean, you maybe could have made this like an 81, but we went with the current version of Gallo. Kenneth Faried. This is the 2014 version of Kenneth Faried. And then Reggie Williams rounds out the roster. Moved him over from the 94 Nuggets, but this is actually the 1992 version of Reggie Williams. And for those of you asking, what does that mean? It's the peak season with that team. So Reggie Williams, I think, was a little bit worse on the 94 Nuggets, so I made him a little bit better and then moved his a years pro back 2 years to even kind of make it even more realistic. So that's kind of the thinking behind some of these. It's peak season. It's not necessarily just get that player on the team. So that's why the ratings maybe adjusted a little bit to what you would have seen on the 94 Nuggets, if that makes sense. All right, let's look at the rotation really quickly. Andre Miller's going to start at point guard. David Thompson, Alex English, Carmelo Anthony, have him as a 4. That's what he should be playing his whole career. Dikembe Mutombo is the center. Kiki Vandeweghe, he can easily start at these 2 positions. Antonio McDyess, Dan Issel, Fat Lever, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Nene, Kenneth Faried, and Danilo Gallinari, with Ty Lawson and Reggie Williams in reserve. So there's the Denver Nuggets. Let's move on to the next team. And that would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Had a debate on what to do with this team because I could have put them on the 96 Sonics because there's more players who play for the Sonics than play for the Thunder on this team. But the Thunder still do officially have the Sonics records. They just don't really recognize them in the arena. But like officially by the NBA, they're recognized as the same franchise. But the Thunder, kind of since they've moved to Oklahoma City, they kind of want to make it seem like it's an expansion team, but it's not. So where do the historic players go? I thought about maybe making a 31st team and then making the tournament like a little bit differently, but that kind of messed up my groups. So I kept it 30, and this is the combination of Oklahoma City Thunder / Seattle Supersonics, and I just kept them on the Thunder. I do wish the Thunder had a classic Sonics jersey you could use. They don't. Very unfortunate. So yeah, just kind of annoying that the Thunder just like don't recognize the Sonics. I guess once if the Sonics do come back to the league, I assume they'll take their history back. I think that actually is the plan if they do that, and those banners will go up in wherever the new arena is in Seattle. So hopefully that happens. But let's go ahead and get to it. Kevin Durant first up. Now Russell Westbrook, if you play with him now, he's actually above a 95 rating, but I think for the kind of the season, we'll put him at a 95. I could see him getting up to a 96, 97 by the end of the season, but we're going to keep him and Durant at 95. in all likelihood, Russell Westbrook's going to win the 2017 MVP. So both their MVP seasons, we'd have them at a 95. I mean, you can argue about that all you want, but it doesn't really matter. They're both incredibly good. So Russell Westbrook, obviously, this is the current version. Kevin Durant, this is the 2014, his MVP version. So Gary Payton. This is the 1986 version of Gary Payton. His best overall season was Defensive Player of the Year. Led his team to the finals. It was already on the game, so I just traded him over. Very easy. Ray Allen. This is the 2005 version of Ray Allen. Allen could have gone to the Bucks. Definitely not the Celtics. That wasn't his better seasons, and the Celtics were loaded already. So I thought about the Bucks, but the Bucks had some really good shooting guards, and obviously you could play Westbrook at the 2 and play Payton at the 1. But I don't know. It just seemed like that was his best. Those were his best seasons. Were Seattle, so I just put him on the Thunder. Spencer Haywood, 1973 version of Spencer Haywood. Sean Kemp, 1986 version of Sean Kemp. Again, just traded him over from the 96 Sonics. Easy. Jack Sikma. Here's a creative player. Hard to create because he had that old school little perm and kind of more narrow face than we actually gave him. But again, from behind, looks like Jack Sikma. Gave him a little gear, his little wristbands, and hopefully his shot looks proper. So there's Jack Sikma. Underrated player. Probably should be in the Hall of Fame. 1982 version of Jack Sikma. Xavier McDaniel, another creative player. Used to be on the game on one of the old Knicks teams, but wasn't this year. So, it doesn't have his number. Obviously, he was number 32 for the Sonics, but that's already taken. So, I'm sorry, he was number 34 for the Sonics, but that was already taken by Ray Allen, so I just made him number 31. Gus Williams. This is where's Gus Williams at? 1982 version of Gus Williams, same as Jack Sikma. Dale Ellis. One of the best shooters in NBA history. 1989 version of Dale Ellis. Detlef Schrempf. 1995 version of Detlef Schrempf. So 96 versions on the game. Again, did the same thing with Reggie Williams as I did with Reggie Williams. Moved him to this team. Knocked a year back on his years pro and made his overall a little bit better. Serge Ibaka. This is the 2014 version of Serge Ibaka. Steven Adams. This is the 2017 version of Steven Adams. Nate McMillan. Mr. Sonic, as some people like to call him. 1988 version of Nate McMillan. And then rounding out the roster, Hersey Hawkins. Could have put him on the Sixers, but decided to put him on the Thunder. Sixers were pretty loaded. Thunder could use some more players, so decided to put him on this team. And this is the 1988, or I'm sorry, where's Hersey Hawkins? 1997 version of Hersey Hawkins. Let's look at the rotation quickly. Russell Westbrook, Ray Allen, Kevin Durant, Sean Kemp, Spencer Haywood. Obviously, you could easily start Payton and maybe move Westbrook to the 2, but it's not like Ray Allen's a bad option there either. So Gary Payton, 92 off the bench. So yeah, this is a really good team. It's gonna be a fun team to play with. All right, next team, Minnesota Timberwolves. Coincidentally, the next in the alphabetical roster. We're gonna go through this one kind of quickly. One of the not as good teams. Kevin Garnett, 2004 version, MVP season. Obvious, that was easy. Kevin Love. This is the 2014 version of Kevin Love. Karl Anthony Towns, current version. Pretty simple. Stephon Marbury, here's a creative player. 1998 version of Steph. Tom Gugliotta, another creative player. 1997 version. Let's look at him in a little more detail. There's Googs. My cousin used to yell Googs when we were playing 21 to try to intimidate me or make me laugh, or I don't know what it was, but it worked all the time. When I was like a little kid, we'd be playing 21. He just yelled Googs when I was shooting free throws, and that was Tom Gugliotta's nickname. So there's my Goog story. Andrew Wiggins, current version of Andrew Wiggins. Latrell Sprewell, 2004 version. Easily could have been on the Knicks. He had better seasons with the Knicks for sure. Better seasons with the Warriors as well. But again, this is one of those talent dispersion picks. It didn't really make sense to load up the Warriors and Knicks with more good wings, but I wanted the Timberwolves to not be so far behind, and the ratings and things like that. So I kind of dispersed the talent a little bit differently. I know Sprewell's better seasons were with the Knicks and the Warriors. I'm aware of that, but went ahead and put him on the Wolves. Christian Laettner, another creative player. Since you can't move players from the USA teams, so yeah, there's Christian Laettner. Had a nice little season in 1995. Gave him an 82 overall. Wally Szczerbiak, 2002 version of Wally. Isaiah Ryder, or J.R. Ryder, 1986 version. Zach LaVine, this is current. Could make him a little bit better, but overall, now when you factor in the torn ACL, this is probably what his season rating would be. So we kept it there. Sam Mitchell, another creative player, played some really majority of his career with the Wolves and obviously coached them last season. So this is the 1998 version of Sam Mitchell. Ricky Rubio, 2017 version, current version, Ricky Rubio. Randy Foye and Trenton Hassel rounded out the roster, and that just kind of shows you how slim the pickings were for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So there's Randy Foye, and it's the 07 version, and then Trenton Hassel is the 04 version. So, yeah, not great back into the roster there. But here's the starting lineup. Stephon Marbury, Latrell Sprewell, Kevin Garnett at the 3. He used to play that for the Timberwolves, but you could easily play him at 4 or 5 in this lineup. Kevin Love at the 4, Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5. So, yeah, I could see someone maybe doing this or here. And then starting Wiggins, that could make sense too, but I want a cat in there. So the versatility of Kevin Garnett, very useful with this team. So yeah, Andrew Wiggins, Tom Gugliotta, Christian Laettner, Isaiah Rider, Wally Szczerbiak, Zach LaVine, Ricky Rubio, Sam Mitchell, Randy Foye, and Trenton Hassel on the bench. All right, last team. This is the last one, guys. Kind of a crazy project, but this is the last one we have to go through. The Portland Trailblazers, Bill Walton, 1977 version of Bill Walton. That was their lone title-winning season. Clyde Drexler, 1988 version of Clyde the Glide. Damian Lillard, this is the current version of Dame. Brandon Roy, creative player, thought it looked pretty good. 2009 version of Brandon Roy. LaMarcus Aldridge, 2011 version, obviously just moved him back over from the Spurs, changed his year's pro, easy enough. Maurice Lucas, here's a creative player, one of the last guys we actually created. There's Maurice, played for the Spirits of St. Louis for a year in the ABA, and here he is in the Blazers. And what year was Maurice Lucas? Let's look that up. 1977, also the title-winning season. Sidney Wicks, 1975 version of Sidney Wicks. Really strong season. Go look at that. Go look his 1975 season up. Jeff Petrie, later a GM in the league, but 1975 version of Jeff Petrie. CJ McCollum, this is obviously the current version. Jim Paxson, another creative player. I mean, it looks kind of weird, but he had this kind of wispy mustache at one point in his career, and I didn't want to just do John Paxson. Like, I thought about just using one of the player models for John Paxson and moving it over and making it Jim, but that seemed like a little bit cheap. So, 1983 version of Jim Paxson. Terry Porter, awesome player, underrated point guard in NBA history. This is the 1991 version of Terry Porter. Arvydas Sabonis, 1996 version of the big Lithuanian. Cliff Robinson, 1994 version of Uncle Cliff. Jerome Kersey, rest in peace. Where's Jerome Kersey at? 1988 version of Jerome Kersey. And then Kevin Duckworth rounds out the roster, just moved him over from one of the classic teams. 1988 version of Kevin Duckworth. Also rest in peace. So here's the rotation. Damian Lillard, point guard. Brandon Roy, shooting guard. Clyde Drexler, small forward. LaMarcus Aldridge, power forward. Bill Walton, really strong starting lineup. So Dame, Brandon Roy, Clyde Drexler, LaMarcus Aldridge, Bill Walton. Then off the bench is Sidney Wicks, Maurice Lucas, Arvydas Sabonis, Terry Porter, Jerome Kersey, Jim Paxson, Jeff Petrie, CJ McCollum, Cliff Robinson, and Kevin Duckworth in reserve. So there you have it. There is the Northwest Division. Again, be on the lookout for our last video, which will be kind of an overview, kind of things I noticed, and then maybe just a couple of tweaks that I made that I'll fill you guys in on, and then I'll give you guys the groups, and then we're gonna start playing games. And so maybe we'll make some videos out of that, but I'll definitely be twitching some of the games. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this.